Most short-term rental managers think that hiring VA will make things easier. But if your systems aren't ready, you're not solving the problem, you're just multiplying it. That's when the cracks started showing. Tools breaking down at 30 to 50 properties, duplicated work or task, constant interruptions because your team cannot make decisions without you, and hours wasted because you didn't leverage AI that can do the work faster. But no worries, in this video I will show you the exact system that can turn your VA from a cost into an asset. So you can run lean, work less, and actually scale without all of the chaos. If you want the exact VA escalation matrix I use for my clients, the one that frees up hours of their time and mine, I've put together a free Notion template that you can grab in the description below. You can hand it to your VA and tomorrow they will know exactly what to do without asking you first. Now, onto a quick summary of what we are going to cover in this video. Firstly, the 3 hidden reasons why most VA underperform in short-term rental businesses. Secondly, how to remove yourself as the bottleneck without losing control. Thirdly, I will show you the exact system that can help you and your VA to know what to do next, who to ask, and also when to escalate, and to manage all of their tasks into one ecosystem so that it's not scrambled all over the place. Let's start with one of the most expensive mistakes that founders usually make, which is bringing more leads before their backend is even ready. So here's what happens. You run a marketing push. You get a bunch of owners interested in your offer. You sign a few, and the first few weeks are going really well. Then things started to slip. Owner A gets some update, owner B barely hears from you. Owner C has their gas issue resolved instantly, while Owner D is waiting 30 days for an answer. From their perspective, your business felt inconsistent, and inconsistent service makes people nervous. Especially if you promise that you are going to build a short-term rental management company that builds trust and also deliver a high-quality service. They would ultimately question all of your values and unique selling proposition that you preach about. And then ultimately they will get nervous. And here's one of the brutal truths. You can have the best marketing or sales skills in the world, but if your backend cannot deliver the same experience every single time, you're going to burn through leads faster than you can ever generate them. So what's the fix? We'll firstly use an owner experience tracker. So it will be like a live dashboard that shows every active owner, their onboarding status, or even their current status, the last time they got an update, their open issues, and also their satisfaction level. This is where we also linked it to the main property database, which listed all of the properties that you currently manage so that you don't get confused where all of the information about the properties that you manage. That way, when your VA, for example, needs to send an owner update or handle a common situation, they don't ask you about a certain information. All of the information handled here within this database. Now, if your process of onboarding requires you to send an intake form that the owners need to fill in, you can pretty much also automate the answers from that form into your current project management database so that you don't need to have your team move all of the information manually, but AI can do it for you. So here, for example, we have the owner's information such as their name, their address. Then we have a more in-depth information about their property, so numbers of bedrooms, specific house rules, FAQs, parking type, basically any information that you could think of for a property. We have utility and vendors, appliances information, Airbnb, and FAQs. And then from all of this information, we can then sum it up into this simple database that is directly linked to the owner experience tracker. So for example, when your team has a certain issue that they need to fix for an owner, they can just write the open issue, they can track the last updated sent, satisfaction level, assigned to, which is a team member that is assigned to that, and link the property that is linked to the specific issue. And whenever they want to find an information about that property, they could just click on the linked property page, and inside those page will have all of the information that is listed in this database here. So this is what it looks like. When I click new property, there's a template for that, and then when you scroll down here, again in this page it will store the specific properties owner information here, their property details, utility vendors, additional information or internal information that you need to store. You can also store it inside this page. Then for the main database, you can also link the important information such as the owner's email, the property type, the photos, log type, log location, all of that, so you don't always need to open the database in order to find a certain information. All of the important information are already in the main page right here. This way, again, every owner gets the same standard communication because everything is tracked here. Your team member doesn't forget anything. They also work independently without constantly asking you questions. And you also stop worrying that the new owners will get the messy version of your business. Now let's take a look at the second biggest trap. Your systems work fine now, but then they collapse whenever you try to double your workload. Again, most short-term rental business hit a wall around 30 to 50 listings. Tasks start slipping through the cracks. They don't know which task is being done by who, which task needs to be completed, which has been completed. 2 team members accidentally message the same guest or do the same task. Updates get missed because nobody really understands who is managing that certain task. Nobody really understands their role inside their business. Why? Because the tools and workflows that you started with were never designed to scale. You need to ditch all of those Google Drive folders, Google Sheets, and start creating a system where it can sustain growth. Again, you're probably managing everything through a messy Google Sheets, through separated WhatsApp groups. You're using multiple different tools like your PMS, your cleaning management tool, but everything is separated and they don't work hand in hand. I call that a patchwork, not a system. Well, the fix to this is actually building a central operation dashboard where you can have a single source of truth for everything that your team member touches. You have the task queues by their priority. Is it urgent? Is it high important? Is it medium important? You will also need to separate your team member's role starting from now on and assign every task based on their assigned role, which is their primary role, who is going to be the support role for that, and who's going to be the emergency role. Because if you're just handing tasks to team members without the right role, there's just going to be a lot of duplication, missed tasks, because they don't really know what they should be working on since they're working on everything. So give your team members specific roles, specific work that they need to do. You can also do this by actually creating templates for tasks. That's what I did with my clients. So for example, if common tasks like guest escalation, bookkeeping, pool maintenance, refunds, review removals, all of that, you can make a template for that. So whenever your team member wants to complete a certain task, they can just click on that template, and inside those task template, there will be to-do lists on what they should do. So we can either link it to their SOP, but it would be better if we also create a template where every time they do a task, they already have a step-by-step process on how to do it, and also along with the checklist, so they don't miss any steps along the way. We also can separate it by today's and tomorrow's tasks, so the team can understand their main role, what their main focus for today is, and their main focus for tomorrow. We can separate the database for each team member too, so we will create a separate page for each team member to see their own task by the week, by urgency, by their roles, by support roles. We can also create KPIs. This would really help, especially if you're starting to scale and you want to track the performance for each of your team members to make sure that they are working efficiently, to keep things accountable. We can track it by weekly status or daily status. We can do like a reporting, daily, weekly reporting. We can track the overdue task, the completion time, how many tasks is separated by their primary roles, the task status. We can also track meetings, the meeting summary, what needs to be improved, every team member's goals throughout the week, and also what they've achieved. Especially if you want to create bonuses for your team to encourage your team member to work even more efficiently, this could work really well. There's a million things that you can customize this, but these are the main systems that you need to implement from now on so that you're able to scale to 100 plus listings without your team member and your operations scattered around everywhere. And here's also one of the key. We designed this so that you can drop another 10, 20, 50 properties without changing how your team works, because now they can handle everything yourself. You don't have to rebuild the system every time you grow. Using the system, you can just grow. Now, problem number 3, one of the biggest reasons why short-term rental founders burn out isn't because the number of properties that they currently manage, but it is how their business is set up. If every decision routes through you, if your team cannot operate without escalating to the manager or escalating to you, if you're constantly jumping in between issues and tasks, then you're not running a business, but the business is running you. This bottleneck kills scale because, firstly, you can't even focus on growth when you're stuck approving every single little thing that is within your business. Your team member never really builds independence and accountability. The mental load never goes away, so stress ultimately becomes permanent. And here's where it gets dangerous. If you keep on growing like this, the chaos starts growing with you. More listings equal to more guest issues, equal to more owner demands, equal to more hours you have to spend working inside the business and not on the business. And that's simply where founders hit burnout. It's not because they scale too fast, it's because they scale without the system that helped them go through the day-to-day grind. The answer to this is simply creating a system where your team can work independently, and as I've mentioned before, we need to also track their performance so that we can keep accountability. So this is the escalation matrix that I talked about in the beginning of the video. You can have access to this below. It is free. Feel free to use this and tweak it depending on your business procedure. But basically, you need to start protecting your time and energy because that is one of the biggest assets that you can have. And so by creating categories like this, your team member wouldn't bother you at random times. They wouldn't bother you for silly little issues. They can solve it themselves. You can also track their performance this way if they actually adhere to this SOP or not. You can see the tasks that they handle well. Again, this could really help with the team meetings that I mentioned before. You can track their performance and maybe give them bonuses so they can actually be compelled to work on issues themselves, have critical thinking, and solve issues without having to escalate to you every single time. So you can step back without things slipping through the cracks. We can also pair this to actually automate the task so that it routes to the person that is responsible for that task immediately. Maybe if you use Slack, we can do a Slack notification so that the team member is aware that they are responsible for a certain task that you just created or that the team member just created. And then finally, you stop being the bottleneck, but you finally start being the CEO of your company. Now onto the final problem, and this blows my mind a little bit. After talking with short-term rental managers from around the world, I noticed that a lot of them are underutilizing AI. The fact that we are in 2025 and AI can literally save you up to 20 plus hours per week and you're not utilizing that, most of the case it is really cost effective and some of them are free. It just blows my mind that most short-term rental managers aren't even using it at all. Instead, they're still manually replying to emails, sorting through inboxes with chaos to figure out which messages are important, paying VAs to chase tasks and also update reports every single time when it can literally be automated. Here's the truth: every repetitive decision, every templated message, every data pulled, most of them can be turned into an AI plug-and-play workflow. And when you don't, you're just wasting time. You're inflating payrolls and you're just slowly drowning your business. So here's some of the ideas on how you can implement AI to your daily workflow right now. Firstly, the email lead response. Firstly, the email auto-response and categorization. If you haven't already, start creating drafts for emails automatically so that your team or yourself can just reread the draft, make sure that it is good and on point before sending it out. And it just takes you less than 5 minutes every single day to review all of the draft that AI provided for you. And again, this could be automated, so you don't need to go to ChatGPT and tell it to respond to this email. We can just automate it in make.com, AI no-code tool, so that AI will automatically create draft for every single email that you have on autopilot every single day. You just need to review it and click send. You can also create team notifications on Slack, just like I've mentioned before. Whenever you have a specific task that you want your team member to do or to review, you can create team notifications so you don't need to remind them over and over again to do a certain task. AI will do that for you. KPI tracking system, you can also pull metrics from either your PMS, your project management tool, clean them up and display them in one live dashboard. We can also auto-generate reporting, so you can create branded owner reports in Google or using another no-code tool to create an app or a tool that can do the reporting automatically to owners. There's a million different ways that you can utilize AI, and if you do this right, you don't just work faster, but you also work leaner, with fewer moving parts and less human errors. So let me summarize this video. Hiring a VA without having the right system will just multiply chaos. But when you have the right dashboard, the right systems, the right workflows and automation in place, even your VA will become the biggest asset that you have instead of just someone that you need to manage. That's how you can scale lean, still be very profitable, and also avoid burning yourself, because we all know that time is ultimately more important than money. So again, I will link the escalation metrics template below for you to access it. It's free, feel free to customize it and send it to your team members immediately. But if you want me to help design all of the system for your unique short-term rental needs, so your team can run like a machine, you can also step back from the day-to-day grind, you can book a call with me using the link in the description below. We'll look at your current operations, I'll understand more about your business, identify your biggest leak, and also build a plan to help you scale without all of the stress and operational chaos. And other than that, if you want to see another example of one of my automation system in play to see what's possible, check out this next video where I show how short-term rental founders can use this GPT assistant to help with managing their VA, answer team questions instantly, and stop repeating the same instructions over and over again. You will see exactly how it works and how you can set it up for your business today. I'll see you in my next one.